Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. If you are on a train, a bus made of train, a train made of bus is a plane that also has a bus attached to it. The CTA of travel, no matter where you go. Listen to this podcast. I'm your boy Johan Devado, and it is episode 5, and we are going to be talking about body count. If you have listened to Jesse Reyes, then you should understand that you don't have to tell me about your body count. I don't gotta know your ex's name. Because honestly, though, who cares? But let's actually start out by talking about what a body count is. So a body count is not how many people you've killed. So if you think that has to do with murder, you are absolutely incorrect. This is not about murder. Body count is basically the number or the quantity of people you have had sex with in your lifetime. So if people are asking what's your body count, they're just asking how many people have you slept with. Which is quite a personal question, which honestly does not owe anybody that information. No one deserves to know that information. And if you decide that you do not want to discuss that information with somebody, that is entirely valid. But if you also decide that you have no issue with it and you would love to tell people about it, then go ahead and do so. It's totally okay. If we're just going to be honest, a lot of people normally lose count, except people who really take pride in their body counts. They do keep up with them. But a lot of people really don't know their actual number. So starting off with body counts, I just want to make sure that we just break this apart and just kind of get rid of this is the STD myth behind body counts. People tend to have this understanding, and I mean, this was also like something that if you went to like a little sex ed thing, if you were in college, they also expressed, is that the more people that you have sex with, the higher at risk you are for catching an STD. Now, while it sounds like, yes, it would make sense. You expose yourself to more bodies, so then the risk becomes higher. That makes sense when you just say it outright, right? But when you really start to think about the myth behind it, it's not really as true as we think it is, because it really does not look into a lot of factors that lead to you having a higher potential risk for an STD. And that usually one starts with is unsafe sex. If you're not having protected sex, you're already putting yourself at risk for an STD. It doesn't matter if this is your first partner. It doesn't matter if it's your 30th. It doesn't matter if it's your 300th. If you are not practicing safe sex and you also do not know the current sexual health status of your partner, you are already running that risk. There are plenty of people out here who have only had sex with one person and still obtained an STD. So the lower your body count is does not mean that your chances are lowered. The only real valid form that you can really avoid as much possible exposure to other sexually transmitted diseases is just not having sex with people. And I mean, obviously you can still obtain particular STDs in different ways by people touching surfaces and things, by bodily fluids, of course. But we're just talking about like engaging in an actual sexual interaction. And when that happens, the best way to avoid those is just to not have sex at all. But if we're just going to be, like realistic about humans love to fuck, and that's going to happen. Bless you, baby. That's going to happen. Like, you are going to get involved with people, and if you get involved with people, you need to understand the sexual status of your partner. So this idea that if you sleep with one person, that you're sleeping with everybody that they've slept with, is just... it's not true. That very much comes off as more of like fear mongering, like it's a scare tactic rather than than it is like a valid means of expressing to somebody why they need to stay more sexually protected. And it's entirely fine for people to like argue this with me and feel otherwise about it. Like, it's totally okay. I feel like both sides have validity to the argument that the more people that you do get involved with, that your chances do become more risky, and also that it does not really matter how many people you get involved with. It's really just about knowing the sexual health status of your partner. Like, I feel like both have their merits because both require you to be sexually responsible. You cannot just be doing anything and everything out here with just anybody, because people do what they want at the end of the day. People will have other partners, and if people have other partners, there are people who are very secretive about their other partners and will not disclose their sexual health information. So if you have the idea that because someone's body count is higher, that the chances of them having an STD is higher, you have to totally dispel that. It's not true whatsoever. You just need to be aware of your partner's sexual health status. So getting tested is very important. But I will talk more about that later. So let's talk about the whole like shaming aspect of body counts, right? It's supposed to be looked at that the higher your body count is, that it's supposed to be a negative thing. And to me, I feel like that tends to be quite hypocritical in its statement, because there's this expectation, at least when you look at the world around you and the things that people say, is that people tend to want to have partners that have low body counts, but also want partners that are very much experienced. And it's like, you can't necessarily expect great quality out of someone who does not have experience, but you can expect good quality if that is a partner that you have been consistently working with, because that person knows your body and how to manage it and how to work with it. And I think that's what makes it different, right? It's like, if you have one person that you are consistent with and then it's just y'all learning each other, then body count doesn't really matter, because it's about the exposure of learning each other. But if you're trying to look at, if you are trying to deal with someone that like you're completely new to, and you expect them to know these like universal rules of sexual practices, like the common erogenous areas, like the lips, the neck, the areola and or nipple. Some people would say the belly button also goes in too, but I really feel like that was like an early 2000s thing, because you don't really hear people talk about belly buttons like that no more. The inner thigh and the genitals themselves, like those are usually like your common ground aspects of like erogenous zones. And if you have the expectation for this new partner that you have to know these things and operate with these things, that's usually going to require experience for how to navigate and how to use those. Because mind you, even though you can understand particular basic aspects of foreplay, the way that everyone likes foreplay is completely different, right? Some people like particular things that are universal. Some people don't like them. Some people like those universal things, but they like them done in a very specific or particular way. And with that, you don't learn the different ways that you can engage and pleasure the body without having experience with other people. You can very much do research, and you can definitely know things from an academic standpoint of like what to also do as well, which is like totally fine. But the thing that no matter how many books you read or no matter how many people you sleep with, the situation still comes back to, at the end of the day, every person is unique to what they like and how they like it, and you have to be able to learn that specific person. So if you want to sit there and deal with somebody who does not have much experience, and you have the patience to try to teach them things, go ahead. But do not get upset at that person's lack of ability to perform if they don't really know what they're doing, you know? I've said this to a few of my friends before who have had issues with the whole conversation of body counts, and see body counts as like a means of discomfort or actively shaming somebody. And I always tell them that you don't really get good, or you don't become a pro playing in the same house. You know, you don't get better at your skills being comfortable. You know, while you might feel comfortable at home court, you also have to get comfortable traveling to different courts, getting a feeling for different environments, and being able to interact with those different environments and seeing what things you can do, what things can you take back to your home court, what things can you, what skills are transferable that can work with other partners, that can work with other people. So by all means, it's like, if you decide that you do not want to have a high body count, that's okay. And if you decide that you do want to have a high body count, like, that's okay. Really, what you need to look at the end of the day is that it's always about experience. You having 20 partners does not mean that you are some sex guru in the bedroom and you know how to pleasure every single person that you deal with. Not at all. You having 200 partners does not mean that you know how to pleasure everyone in the bedroom. Not at all. You can have only 5 partners. You can have only 3 partners, and you can still learn a lot of universal rules. It's really about what you learn in those experiences, and then how you take those experiences to your other partners, and then you try those new things out. Everything is trial and error. So the whole purpose of trying to shame somebody for their lack of or how much sexual experience they have is entirely unnecessary. Low body count or high body count, no one should be shamed for the amount of partners that they have. It just doesn't work that way. You have to excuse me too. The weather's changing, so it's getting rough. Let's talk about the gender impressions behind these things, right? So we're talking about how body counts are treated for men and how body counts are treated for women. Once again, very much in the binary, so work with me, right? Because we're talking about cultural expectations, and they very much still exist in a dichotomy, and so it has to be talked about that way sometimes. And when we're talking about the impressions, when men have a high body count, it is often praised. Now, I would not say that it is praised by both men and women. I will honestly put it up more to the fact that high body counts are often things that men praise other men for. Like that's very much like a concept that is like tied to like masculinity, that the more women you sleep with, the bigger status that you just have at having more sexual confidence in your character and how you carry yourself. And, it's often shown that, because you have that experience, that the impression is that you can pleasure more women more efficiently and more better, very heteronormative still about what I'm talking about. But the point still follows is that that is often the cultural assumption, is that men who have high body counts are the ones who are able to provide the most sexual pleasure and interest and be the most experimental in things. And once again, while not true, that is often the impression, because culturally men are encouraged to have as many partners as they want to, because of this idea that men do not get emotionally attached to their sexual partners. And that in itself is a complete myth, because men very much get attached to their casual partners. I've seen this time and time and time and time again, where you have men who just want something casual with a woman that they're trying to court or impress, and then they still want to be able to sleep with other women. But then when the woman that they're dealing with, this one of whatever 5, 10 women that they're dealing with, starts dealing with another dude, they get very upset and get possessive about it and be like, you can't share my pussy and yada, yada, yada. Like it's often this jealousy and ownership mentality that starts coming into place when that happens. And, as far as I see, like that's really dangerous. That's such a dangerous mentality to have, because you don't allow your partner to have the flexibility that you do. And it's to the point that it physically upsets you so much. It physically upsets you so much to the point that you feel the need to control this person's autonomy. And you already know that in situations where a person's autonomy is controlled, that it can get very violent or emotionally manipulative or abusive. And that is very concerning and worrisome to me. So this idea that men do not get emotionally involved in casual sex situations, not true. And that's another myth that we need to dispel. It's just not like that. No matter whether you are a man or a woman, emotional involvement comes with sexual experiences, and it comes with what you do. Does that mean that you need to necessarily get a romantic attachment? Not at all. But there is an emotional attachment that does come with sexual relationships, and that's completely okay, So the impressions with women, while I definitely do think, especially when we look in rap music, that we're very much getting into an era where women are embracing having these body counts, especially higher body counts, and having more sexual experience, which I'm completely here for and I completely support, because it's like, if you want to deal with someone who is as nasty as they can be in the bedroom, I feel like you have to accept the fact that that's also probably going to come with the fact that they're going to have multiple partners that they got to try and do shit out with. Like, there's a lot that goes into learning the human body and what you do with it. But women are often shamed for, it's often put that women have less value because of their body counts, that the more men that they sleep with, that their bodies become no longer desirable. Like they are supposed, like they're a vehicle, like an object that breaks down the more that it gets used. And that's, once again, the objectification that tends to come with talking about women, is that women are often looked at as objects in the sexual sphere rather than looked at as human beings. And you can tell with that lack of education, because there's always the assumption put in place that, women who have more sex, that their vagina, the opening, not the vulva, the vagina, the opening becomes a lot more, quote unquote, loose, and it stays that way. And that is just, once again, a very much lack of sexual education, because that is not how vaginas work. And I really wish that myth would go away, because vaginas very much go back to how they've always been. If a woman is supposed to be comfortable and she's supposed to be stimulated, the muscle walls are going to relax. Like that comes with it. And if you sit there and say that, oh, she's relaxed and comfortable and her vagina feels like that and that means she's loose, I think we need to actually reflect on what exactly is the problem here. Because I don't really think it's the fact that she would be loose, but it's the fact that maybe you're not compensating enough to fulfill what she has going on. Like, because you never, like, when you think about it, you never hear men ever say, yeah, my dick was too small for her pussy. You don't never hear that. But it's always the pussy was too big for my dick. Like, what? Pussy too loose for your penis. But it can't be the other way around. That's crazy. But that, like, still, like, goes back into, like, the whole thing of, like, women being just shamed for it, is that they're not supposed to be sexual. They're supposed to be not sexual. You know, it's like, it's this weird thing where, like, women are very much damned if they do or damned if they don't, in the aspect of being sexual, where if women aren't sexual, they are being sexualized, you know. And then if they decide that they do not want to be sexualized, they become even more sexualized. The more conservative a woman is supposed to appear, she still becomes quite sexualized. It really does not, it never can escape that process that women are viewed in a sexual aspect, regardless of whether they sexualize themselves or if someone else is doing it for them. That is just culturally how women have always been framed, is to be sexualized in one way or another. But it's not by the control of how women decide to express their sexuality, but how men decide to do it. And that's the issue behind why, when women have more sexual empowerment and they decide to express more about how they want to sleep with different people, or they want to try different things in the bedroom, or they're curious about what other people are like in the bedroom, that they get shamed for it, because it's a situation that's out of the control of men. It's women making their own decisions about how to use their body, and that whole process of women having that autonomy very much rubs men the wrong way. And if you don't think so, it's just like, you can listen to rap music, look at online debates that happen on Black Twitter, because Black Twitter loves to debate about every useless gender issue with Black people. But it's like, if you go and you read through those comments, watch how many times you will see men shame women like Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Suki Hana, Chloe Bailey, like so many different examples, and you will see that it is a consistent shaming and need to tell these women that they are lacking of value, because they want to either talk about their sexual excitement, or they want to express their sexual excitement in one way or another. And it's really still a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing. It doesn't work, and it's ridiculous, because I very much feel that women should be more desirable when they are in the space of being able to be more sexually expressive, because they are very much making it known that they are excited to try and do new things. And if we're supposed to go with this whole mantra that men, quote unquote, and I'm saying this from the traditional standpoint, not my own, but that men are supposed to be AKA freaks in the sheets, or they want a woman who is a freak in the sheet, you have to accept the fact that that freak is going to come with experience. And if you don't want to deal with that experience, you're not going to be dealing with a freak, you're going to be dealing with a student, and you're going to have to teach this person how to do the kind of things that you like. And then you got to see if they're even willing to do so. And if you have to check off so many boxes before you can find out if this sexual partner is compatible for you, do you not think that it would have fit your interests a lot better to then find someone who already has that experience, so you could have already got those boxes checked off and already knew that that would be the thing that you would get? I don't know. You tell me. All I'm basically saying is just look for people that are going to honestly fit the sexual interest that you're looking for. And also try to learn with getting more comfortable with the aspect that if you want someone to be a particular way, that more than likely is going to come with experience. You don't really find out a lot of your sexual interests just by, you know, looking up in the sky and they just pop out to you. Like, people find exposure in different ways to figure out the things that they are into sexually. And you know, a lot of times that just comes with experience. Experience does not always mean having sex with a person. You can also have experience from the things that you've read, from the videos that you've seen. But very much, you know, if you want to find people that are going to have similar interests as you in the bedroom, that's going to require accepting the fact that in one way or another, this person is going to have experience. And in most times, it's going to be because they experienced it with somebody else. Now, we're talking about this whole quality and body counts about whether you want to be conservative or open. I just want to say that first off, that both parties are completely valid in their expression. If you decide that you do not want to have a lot of sexual partners, or you do not want to share the information about how many sexual partners you have, if you want to be more conservative or reserved about that, that is completely okay and valid. You do not need to have a lot of partners to validate your sexual interest, desires, or how you perform in the bedroom. It is very much attached to how you want to perform, and even what you've been told. If you really take the feedback of others in determining what kind of person you are in the bedroom, you're going to know what kind of person you are regardless of how much sexual experience you have. So whether you want to share that information or not is completely okay. And if you decide that you want to be open about it and talk about how much you enjoy having sex with people and how much you enjoy having multiple partners, or you don't, that is also okay. Like, there is nothing wrong with that. Like, I think more often than not, it's often shamed about women to be bragging about their multiple sexual partners. It can very much be considered a turnoff too when men also brag about their sexual partners. But I do think that even though both can be considered a turnoff in a social situation, the standards once again still are different. It's expected more for like men to really talk about those things openly than it is for women. So when we're talking about this comfort of being like sexually open and expressive, it is very much valid in both aspects. Like, you can decide to have that conversation to talk about things openly, and that's okay. And if you don't, that's also okay. I'm very much on the side that I like the fact when people are very much sexually expressive and open and talk about the things that they've experienced and the things that they've been through, because it really gives me just a good insight into like the history of sexual experiences that people go through, both men and women, and the kind of things that they try and want to do. You would be surprised how many things that you could learn, not just about your friends, but also just about the people around you, and what things that you may or may not be into or be curious to try just by the conversations that you have. Like, I talk to everybody about sex. I talk to my coworkers about sex. I talk to my friends about sex. I talk to anybody and everybody who will have a conversation with me about sex. Not because I want to have sex with everybody, but just because I enjoy listening to the various experiences. I even talk to my family about sex, and I just love hearing the different experiences and the things that people try, because it's like, if that's something that you down with and you tried and you thought it was pretty cool, I don't see why I can as well. Like, shit, you might have just unlocked something I never knew about, so I'm definitely going to try to check that out. But even if you decide not to be open about it and you want to be more reserved, that is completely okay. Like, there is no shame in it. There will never be no shame in it. Please have your fun how you decide to have your fun. And whether you keep it to yourself or not is your choice. Let's not shame either party. Let's just have the fact that both parties have validity. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people have sex, and we can't control how much sex people have. Shaming people into not having sex is just very terrible. And we should not aspire to a culture that continues to do that. I feel like as time goes on, we're moving much more away from that, and we should continue moving away from that and give people the autonomy to do the things that make them happy. And in saying that also, let's talk about the fact that it needs to be safe and fun. You just cannot be running around rawing people and just having raw sex all the time and just expecting that that's going to be okay. And I know I said I'd come back to this, so I'm coming back to it right now. But safe sex is very important. Whether you have one partner or multiple partners, you should always be getting tested. I used to have a schedule where I would get tested monthly when I was more active with frequent partners, but just the way that life has just been going, I haven't been getting tested as much, and I haven't really been sleeping with anyone outside of my partner. Despite us being non-monogamous, it has mainly been just us two, which is totally fine with me because that's my boo, so that's what I'm going to do. But still, the commitment still needs to be made to continue to get tested as frequent as you can. I very much encourage that people always get sexually tested before you engage with a new partner, and even after you engage with that partner. And you both should get tested. It should not just be one party. It should be both of y'all getting tested and being sure that your results are clear. That means a urine test and even getting a blood test, just so you both know what you're bringing to the table when y'all decide to engage with one another, rather than kind of just rawing it out and then figuring it out later, because that's kind of dangerous. We don't want to do that. We really don't want to do that. So that's really like the biggest thing, is that regardless of whether your body count is high or low, your sexual safety is always going to be what is the utmost important. And people running around having unprotected sex, and then having it with multiple people is very much the biggest cause into how the disease spreads so much, because a lot of people tend to be shy or get nervous or get anxious about going to the clinic and getting tested. And then when people do know their results, people feel ashamed about it because of the culture of shaming, that is, or the stigmatization that is behind STDs and having one, and people do not want to be perceived as undesirable. But it's just like, health-wise, you need to disclose that kind of information to your partner, and they should know. I get it. No one wants to be shamed. No one wants to be embarrassed about it, and that's a very unnerving situation. I get it. As someone who once contracted an STD, I get it. It's cleared. I don't have it anymore, but I get it. I get the discomfort. Even just within your own body, because you felt that you were so careless that you made a mistake, and you don't ever want to go through that again. But humans are humans, and people make mistakes, and sometimes people don't even know. So when you find out, it is for your best interest to make sure that all of your partners have that information. It is disclosed to them, and you are practicing safe sex. Even if you do not have an STD, you should still be practicing safe sex. If you just have one partner and it's just you two and no one else, and you both have confirmed that neither of you have STDs and y'all want to have unprotected sex, that's okay. Go for it. But the more partners that you move into having, the more strict you need to be about having safe sexual practices. And it very much needs to be, I would say, a community effort for everyone to have the acknowledgement of knowing that they are either having sex with multiple people, or their partner is having sex with multiple people. So the body needs to be taken care of appropriately. So no more secrets about whether or not you have an STD. No more avoiding getting tested. Planned Parenthood is a great resource to go to. If you stay in Chicago, Midwest Express Clinic is a very good place to go to. So there are always options for places to go to get tested. Even just going to see your primary care provider is also a good resource to just get tested for STDs and just make sure that you are A-OK. That is very, very, very important. Please make sure that you are taking care of your body, regardless of how many partners you have. Always make sure that you are okay and you are practicing things safely, because it's very easy to slip and make some choices that you can't get back. So that's going to really be it for what I have to say when it comes to body counts. Do not have a worry about them. Do not use them as an aspect to shame others. We need to really get to a point in culture where we can have more excitement in the fact that people are becoming more sexually expressive, because I feel that as long as culture continues to become more sexually expressive in a healthy manner, that will also encourage a culture of people to get more consistently tested and learn themselves and learn others better. And with that, I think we can have a more positive sex culture that does not have to end in so much shaming and so many debates about who does what with who and how can this happen here and when and where. Like, people have sex at the end of the day. People are going to have sex. So instead of us trying to dictate a culture where we control how people have sex, we need to really set more of a culture for how can we teach people to care more for their bodies during sex and care for their partners' bodies during sex, adding a lot more of that humanization into the sexual aspect instead of trying to restrict it by who should do what based on what standards. We need to very much look into that. And I'm talking about adults here. Let me be clear. I'm talking about adults. So we need to very much look into that and make sure that that is A-OK, that everyone is going to be A-OK. So that is all I have to say for today. You all take care. You have a wonderful day. And thank you all for tuning in for another episode of Not Another Male Podcast. The next episode will be coming up next Saturday. And I should have a guest next Saturday who none of you will know until she shows up. But it's going to be exciting. So you all take care. Thank you.